As a dad, I can't imagine what it would feel like to have my kids taken away from me. And as Prime Minister, I am appalled by the shameful policy that stole Indigenous children from their communities.
Campaigning to be Prime Minister in 2015, Justin Trudeau promised he would implement all 94 recommendations made by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, including 6 that had to do with missing children and burial information. Things like creating a national register of student deaths, a register of burial places, and funding burial ceremonies and commemorations.
Those calls to action have not been fully implemented. So that's the frustration. Like, you have a report. We don't want it gathering dust.
The commission did a lot of work to figure out how many children died and where they are buried, but some work was left undone when the Harper government turned down a request by the commission for an extra $1.5 million to help locate missing cemeteries. It would not be until 2019 when the Trudeau government set aside funds, about $34 million, to implement the 6 commission recommendations on burial sites of children.
And they need to fully fund the work that needs to be done to identify the unmarked graves of children across Canada, because there are many, many more.
But as of this week, the status of all the commission recommendations involving Ottawa is unfinished, incomplete. Talks continue.
So far, there's a lot of distance between their statements and their actions towards children. And we need to be watching carefully their actions.
We've got to grieve this moment, but for the federal government, it's not good enough to just continue with symbolic gestures.
Trudeau responded to that Monday.
We promised concrete action, and that's how we'll support survivors, families, and Indigenous peoples.
Now, Trudeau would not say what he means by concrete action. That could take a couple of days to work out. But in the meantime, MPs agreed unanimously to hold an urgent debate on this issue tomorrow. Donna?
David, a lot of people say it's time for less talk, more action. Advocates like Cindy Blackstock say one concrete action could be to end these court battles involving residential school survivors and Indigenous children. What's the likelihood of that?
Well, I asked Trudeau about that today, and it doesn't sound to me like the government of Canada is going to back off 3 court cases it has ongoing. One of those involves residential school survivors at St. Anne's School in Northern Ontario. And this school, by the way, is a school where they used an electric chair to punish the kids. And St. Anne's survivors have had to go to court to get Canada to turn over documents about how the kids there were cared for. The other 2 cases involved care of the current generation of Indigenous kids. Ottawa's appealing a couple of human rights rulings. One of those cases is in court in a couple of weeks. But you're right, advocates and some parliamentarians say Ottawa should just drop all 3 of these legal cases and get on with the task of caring for survivors and the current generation of Indigenous kids. Donna?
All right, David Akin, thanks.